Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Joe Palmer begins now.
Good evening, everyone. A 75-year-old man has been killed in a crash outside the Kempton Mood Food Roadhouse on the Midland Highway last night. While investigators are working out the exact cause of the crash, there are documented concerns about the design of the new intersection. The local council is calling for an urgent safety review.
An emergency response outside a popular Midland Highway pit stop. The rescue helicopter deployed to the scene of a serious crash at the busy Kempton intersection last night.
The Tasmania Police Westpac helicopter has attended the scene. The helicopter was deployed because it was recognised as being a significant crash.
Just before 5 p.m, police say this now crumpled sedan was pulling out of Mood Food, turning right to go southbound. But it crossed into the path of the northbound black ute, which couldn't avoid a collision.
At that stage it would have been still light, but of course it's late afternoon, so the lighting conditions deteriorating, but it was still daylight.
The driver of the ute was physically uninjured, but despite efforts, the 75-year-old driver of the car died. Investigators piecing together what contributed to the crash on a stretch of road that was extensively upgraded in March 2017.
Crash investigation on the scene because it's deemed to be a serious accident. Part of their role will be to examine the scene and determine all the factors that are involved.
While police are still investigating what caused the crash, the design of the intersection had been questioned by a parliamentary committee in 2016. Its report specifically documented safety concerns for traffic turning right from Mood Food, as happened in this case. It noted traffic exiting south may be subject to delays during heavy traffic, which could stress drivers and lead to unsafe attempts to pull onto the highway. The Southern Midlands Council is now requesting an urgent safety review. The Department of State Growth says the circumstances of the crash are a matter for the coroner. Michael Breen, 7 Tasmania News.
A new report is urging Tasmanian authorities to put a stop to routine strip searching of children in custody. The Children's Commissioner recommending a raft of changes to the system, with hundreds of young people being searched each year.
Tasmania's new Children's Commissioner today pleading for an end to the current practice of routine strip searching children in custody.
Legislation around strip searching children and young people should be based on what is reasonable, what is necessary, and whether or not it is proportionate to a legitimate aim.
Last year, 218 minors in the prison service were subject to a strip search. The Commissioner calling for the use of other technologies such as body scanners, strip searching only as a last resort.
That may see less of a reliance on strip searching and more of a reliance on other approaches before we go to a strip search. And in some cases, strip searches simply wouldn't be required.
Also urging the government to introduce simpler laws to make rules the same at every facility, saying strip searching could have ongoing impacts.
If you have been abused or if you have been traumatised and you are then subjected to a strip search, that can re-traumatise you.
In a statement, Attorney General Elise Archer said she was already committed to changing protocols. The report already receiving support from long-term supporters of change.
If a child is detained in custody, they should be treated as a child. They should be taken before the court as soon as possible, and at no stage should they be strip searched.
Tasmania Police say routine strip searching doesn't occur on children temporarily detained. And if a strip search does occur, it's because of risk to safety or to prevent the loss of evidence. Both the government and police will review the recommendations. Michelle Wisby, 7 Tasmania News.
An Ulverston couple has been left shattered after a fire broke out in their garage late last night. The blaze spread quickly and within minutes had engulfed their entire roof.
It's a night the couple will never forget. They were sitting in the lounge last night when all of a sudden they heard a loud boom.
They were sitting in the lounge room, heard a bang and then a car alarm going off. So the occupant's gone out to the garage and discovered that there was a fire around the vehicle.
This is what remains of their Commodore: rubble, ash and metal on the ground. Neither were injured, but today both were quite shaken by the ordeal.
Obviously in a bit of shock, it's not something that you sort of wish upon anyone, and so all things considered, they're holding up well.
It's believed an electrical fault in the car sparked the blaze, a cause fire crews say isn't uncommon.
There's no indications of anything deliberate. The doors were shut at the time. They had used the car that day, but it's been housed since about 5:30 that evening. They did indicate there hadn't been any previous issues, but at this stage, a lot of indicators are pointing towards the vehicle.
The fire spread so quickly that in a matter of just moments, it had engulfed the entire roof space of the property. It's unclear if the owners will rebuild or if starting again is the best option. Damage is estimated to be around $250,000. Jessica Moran, 7 Tasmania News.
The University of Tasmania will review its admissions processes following allegations it waived English language requirements to encourage international students to enrol. It comes after concerns the university was one of many across Australia undertaking similar practices. Today, Vice-Chancellor Rufus Black announced a wide-ranging external review into admissions will be conducted to address the concerns. In the meantime, there will be a crackdown on enrolments for future overseas students. The Public Health Service has confirmed the state's first case of measles for the year. A 25-year-old woman infected with the disease arrived into Devonport from the Philippines last Thursday. She presented to a clinic in Ulverston on Saturday and is now recovering in hospital. The Public Health Service is urging anyone travelling overseas to check their immunisation status. Far-right politician Fraser Anning wants to reignite the Franklin Dam war, saying he would push for the area's World Heritage listing to be torn up and a dam to be built. His arrival in the state to campaign for his candidates has been met with a scathing response from his political opponents.
Fraser Anning joining his Tasmanian candidates to launch a pitch to local voters.
We have a lot of policies. Immigration's probably the biggest one right now because that's our biggest threat right now. But it's not the only thing that we're standing for.
In what's sure to be another controversial policy, he says he would help resurrect the Franklin Dam, a project that was the subject of furious protest in the 1980s. The area is now protected by a World Heritage listing, something Fraser Anning would tear up.
We'll put the rights back in the hands of the Tasmanian government to build the dam. If they do, there'll be thousands of jobs and you'll be back to the cheapest power in Australia by a long way.
When I heard that Fraser Anning wants to dam the Franklin, I just thought that's just the same old rubbish that needs to go into the same old rubbish bin that all his racist remarks do.
The Senator is running candidates in Braddon and Franklin and fielding 2 for Tasmanian Senate seats. They're people he says he's gathered in just 10 days before the nominations closed.
Our teams who talk to these people have done their absolute best to make sure we get the right sort of people and we don't have people that have some problems in their past or have some crazy ideas.
Fraser Anning will do what Fraser Anning will do. We've preferenced all his candidates last, so we're not particularly concerned about Fraser Anning. We're running our own campaign.
We're in a society in Australia that is multicultural, that is tolerant and accepting of the diversity that we have. Fraser Anning isn't, and he should just get back on a plane and just get out of here.
Michael Breen, 7 Tasmanian News.
Declaration of the polls ceremonies in Hobart and Ulverston have officially welcomed Tasmania's 2 returning Legislative Council politicians. Today, Labor's Joe Seeker celebrated victory in Pembroke, while the Liberals' Leonie Hiskett will return to Montgomery. Thousands headed to the ballot box on Saturday to vote for their upper house representatives in 3 electorates. Counting is still continuing in Nelson, with a 3-way contest playing out for the hotly contested seat. A result is not expected for at least another week. And a special group of Tasmanian Royal watchers was over the moon when they heard the news of the little boy's arrival. The ladies were listening to the radio when the news broke early this morning, with the momentous occasion sparking memories of their previous encounters with the Queen.
For Helen, Jenny, Jean and Heather, being awake to hear the royal news was worth it.
was so excited, I jumped up in the bed. I thought, it's a boy, it's a boy. I was so excited, and I think everybody was so excited for Harry.
I had the wireless on all night, and just before I went to sleep it was announced over the wireless. I think it must have been the early hours of the morning, but I just heard it and then went to sleep, smiling.
The Launceston ladies fondly remember seeing the Queen on her visits to the state, and their love for Prince Harry has never wavered.
You know, losing his mum so young, and it was hard for him to accept, and he still feels the loss of his mother. That's what I feel. He will make an excellent dad.
I was very pleased that there was a safe arrival and a healthy baby, and that it was a boy. It's always nice to have a boy as the head of the family.
Their joy in the royal addition shared by others, and with good reason.
In a world that's subject to so much bad news, the birth of a child is a wonderful, welcome celebration.
And as for what baby Sussex might be named...
Well, I have thought of Albert.
I think they're a modern couple, and they may surprise us with a modern name. But I guess in all these things, we'll just have to wait and see.
Jessie Gilmore, 7 Tasmania News.
Back home, and the battle for spots in the Tasmania Devils Best 22 is heating up following the side's 1-point loss to the Oakley Chargers at North Hobart Oval last Saturday. The Devils travel to Victoria's Queen Elizabeth Oval this weekend to take on the Bendigo Pioneers.
I think if we're talking about players going to the next level, you've got to be able to rise to the challenge that are thrown at them. And a flight, a bus trip, and then playing in country Victoria is going to be a really good challenge for them. So the good players will stand up.
The Devils are currently sitting even with the Pioneers on the league ladder with 2 wins and 3 losses. Cricket Tasmania CEO Nick Cummins has defended Cricket Australia's decision to award Tasmania just 1 game out of its upcoming international fixture. The Aussies will take on New Zealand at Blunston Arena next March, but the state has missed out completely on hosting any women's matches. Tens of millions of dollars has been pumped into Blunston Arena over the past decade in the hopes of attracting more international matches. At this stage, however, Tasmanian cricket fans will have the chance to witness just 1 in 2020.
I'd like to see as much international cricket in Tasmania as possible. It's challenging because we are up against much bigger markets, much bigger budgets, much bigger stadia.
The March 20 match between Australia and New Zealand will be the 3rd and final game of the Chappell-Hadley ODI series, with Cummins also left to defend the decision to schedule it on the same weekend as the opening round of the 2020 AFL season.
This is a big game. It's 1 of 3. It's against a very good team. And I think if there's a concern, it should be around AFL scheduling and going up against Australia versus New Zealand.
And with the state still yet to host any international women's cricket, Tasmania has once again been left out of the equation.
In the short term, the reason provided was that they wanted to build a market ahead of the Women's World Cup, so playing international cricket in those venues where the Women's T20 World Cup will be played.
But Cummins is urging the public to look at the positives and show Cricket Australia why the state deserves more of a share of the international cricketing pie by packing out Blunston Arena come March 20.
He expects that 1 game is the starting point, not the finish point. We're not grateful for Cricket Australia giving us 1 game, but at the same time we don't want to have an entitlement mentality. We've got to continue to put forward the case as to why we're a great international venue.
Southern Huskies big man Jordan Vandenberg is adamant the side will be a force to be reckoned with this New Zealand NBL season after falling just short of a win over the undefeated Wellington Saints in Hobart on Saturday night.
We're just now getting together, getting things rolling, getting understanding of each other, how we play. Whereas a lot of these other teams, they were together 3-4 weeks before the season started, and they've known each other for ages because this league's been around for a while. So once we get that team chemistry clicking really nicely, there was no one in this league that can beat us.
The competition makes its way to Launceston for the first time this weekend when the Huskies host the Southland Sharks at the Silverdome at 5 p.m. this Sunday. A young Tasmanian up-and-coming hockey star has moved 1 step closer to his dream of playing for the Kookaburras, with Hobart's Sam McCulloch earning selection in the Australian under-21 squad to compete at the 8 Nations tournament in Spain in June.
Still a few little steps that I have to take to hopefully one day play for Australia, but there's like the National Development Squad, which is the next step up from the junior squad. So that's just sort of my main focus after this.
McCulloch currently plays for Canterbury in the Hockey Tasmania Premier League and was one of the standouts in the Tasmanian side, which took out the 2018 Under-21 National Championships. Some of the country's best golfers are battling it out in Hobart this week, with competition expected to be fierce for the annual National Interstate Series, Australia's premier teams challenge. The men's event teed off at the Tasmanian Golf Club today, with 8 golfers represented from each state. Following 3 days of round-robin competition, the top 2 sides will meet in Friday's final, with Tasmania expected to be right up there.
Well, welcome back to our Royal Baby Bulletin tonight. I guess and I know that there's lots of celebrations happening at Buckingham Palace at the moment. I just hope they can get up for work tomorrow. Back to my work, and St Helens our top today with 19 degrees after an expected cool night where Liaweenie dropped to -5. Hobart 16 today, Launceston 15, Burnie 13 and Devonport 14. King Island reached 18 today, Friendly Beaches 17, Smithton and Flinders Island 16, Lowhead, Grove, Liaweenie and Strawn all 15. Some low cloud did move over our northern and western coasts today. Bands of mid to high cloud streamed over the state as well. More cloud still clings to a low off our east coast. A frontal band over South Australia is due to a low near Kangaroo Island. Onshore winds brought cloud to coastal WA. Tomorrow a cold front moves over the Bight, swept up from the southwest. A high pressure ridge dominates most of the continent. West to southwesterlies developing tomorrow at 15 to 25 knots and more northwesterly later in the day and sometimes up to 30 knots, swells at 2 metres. We have a strong wind warning from Low Rocky Point up and around to St Helens Point. Hobart tomorrow, 18 degrees, a shower or 2 developing. Showers on the way for Geeston later, 17 the top, 1 for Bothwell overnight, a showery 15 tomorrow. Launceston, showers clearing, 17 the top, 16 for Devonport and the same sort of forecast for Cressy with 17 the maximum. 15 the high for Burnie with showers clearing, a bit showery in the west, Strawn 15, Curry on King Island 15 as well, and for St Helens tomorrow a high of 17 degrees with a light shower or 2, possibly a shower for Swansea, a shower on the way later for Orford and 18 degrees. On Thursday, rain over the north and west extending statewide in the morning, however not much over the east coast. Showers easing on Friday before contracting to the west and northeast in the afternoon, and on Saturday fine apart from a shower over the west, south and Bass Strait. Partly cloudy in Perth tomorrow, a shower or 2 for Adelaide and Melbourne, mostly sunny and 21 degrees in Sydney, a warm day in Brisbane and sunny further north. Still a bit of cloud around at the moment, 10 degrees in Hobart, 10 right now in Launceston, 11 in Devonport. Now Joe, this Royal Baby, I've seen tonight that it came in at £7.3. What's that in dollars?
I'm not even discussing the Royals with you. I love them. I'm thrilled. Thank you very much, everyone. We loved having your company this evening. We will see you a little later with updates. Bye.